live from New Delhi. You're watching the India News, India's Voice to the World. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi dedicates to nation and lays foundation stone for multiple developmental projects in West Bengal. Also inaugurates and lays foundation stone of multiple projects in Indian state of Bihar. US to airdrop food and supplies into Gaza. President Biden hopeful of Israel-Hamas ceasefire deal by Ramadan. Hungary's parliament speaker signs off on Sweden's NATO accession, forwards the legislation to President's office for promulgation. And India's equity benchmark indices Sensex and Nifty and special live trading session at record closing high levels. And on to the top story this hour. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated developmental projects worth $1.80 million in Krishnanagar city on the second day of his visit to the eastern state of West Bengal. These projects cater to sectors like power, rail and roads and will contribute to economic and industrial growth in the region. With an agenda to vitalize the energy sector in the country, the Prime Minister inaugurated Raghunathpur Thermal Power Station Phase 2. Prime Minister Modi will also inaugurate multiple developmental projects in the state of Bihar later in the day.
इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के दृष्टिकोण से रेल पश्चिम बंगाल के गौरवशाली इतिहास का हिस्सा है, लेकिन इतिहास की जो बढ़त बंगाल को हासिल थी आजादी के बाद, उसे सही ढंग से आगे नहीं बढ़ाया गया। यही कारण है कि तमाम संभावनाओं के बावजूद बंगाल पीछे छूटता गया। पिछले 10 वर्षों में हमने उस खाई को पाटने के लिए यहां के रेल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पर बहुत जोर दिया है। आज हमारी सरकार बंगाल के रेल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के लिए पहले के मुकाबले 2 गुने से भी ज्यादा रुपए खर्च कर रही है।
Addressing the event, Prime Minister Modi hailed railways as a part of the glorious history of West Bengal. He stressed that the central government is working at all levels to strengthen the railway infrastructure in the state. And after inaugurating the developmental projects in West Bengal, India's Prime Minister Modi also held a road show in Krishnanagar city of the state. A huge crowd gathered to greet the Prime Minister during the rally. Later, the Indian Prime Minister was also facilitated during a public meeting in Krishnanagar. Addressing at the meeting, he highlighted the increasing corruption in the state. He said that the ruling party in the state turned central government scheme into scam.
ये चाहते हैं कि केंद्र की योजनाओं का लाभ किसे मिले, ये भी टीएमसी के तोलाबाज ही तय करेंगे। गरीब के घर की योजना को भी ये लोग तोलाबाजों के अधीन देना चाहते हैं। हर घर नल योजना में भी ये लोग तोलाबाजों का दखल चाहते हैं। मनरेगा में 25 लाख फर्जी मनरेगा जॉब कार्ड बनाए गए। जो पैदा नहीं हुआ था उसका कार्ड बना दिया। जो पैसा गांव में गरीब मजदूर को मिलना चाहिए था उसको टीएमसी के तोलाबाजों ने लूट लिया। ये टीएमसी सरकार हर स्कीम को स्कैम में बदल देती है। स्कीम को स्कैम में बदलने में टीएमसी की मास्टरी है।
And for more on Prime Minister's visit, we have a correspondent, Debyendu Mundal, joining us. Well, Debyendu, several developmental projects inaugurated today and then a roadshow. Can you give us the entire details of the Prime Minister's visit to the state?
Well, Lipakshi, you know, the Prime Minister was on a 2-day visit to West Bengal, which started yesterday. Yesterday, he addressed a rally in Arambagh district of West Bengal, and today he was at the Krishnanagar, which is in the Nadia district of West Bengal. In both the places, apart from holding a political rally, the Prime Minister also, inaugurated a number of projects for the development of Bengal both yesterday and today. What we saw today was projects of an outlay of 15,000 crores that the Prime Minister inaugurated this morning in West Bengal, which included a thermal power project. The Prime Minister also spoke about how the rail infrastructure has been improved across the state of West Bengal, and not just West Bengal but also in different parts of the country. There are also developmental projects in the sector of energy, in the sector of economy, also in the rural sectors, which includes the Pradhan Mantri Har Ghar Nal Se Jal, which means pipe drinking water to every household, are some of the projects that the Prime Minister inaugurated today in West Bengal. And of course, his visit, 2-day visit, is significant just ahead of the election, because Bengal, remember, is an important state for the BJP, and the projects that the Prime Minister inaugurated on both the days, that is yesterday and today, will lead to a massive development in the state. Back to you.
Also, as you mentioned, Prime Minister also said that the ruling party in the state turns central government scheme into a scam. He categorically mentioned this. As you said, with elections around the corner, how do you think this visit impacted the locals there and the effect on the political landscape in Bengal?
Well, Lipakshi, remember, for the BJP, West Bengal is a very important state. In 2019, the BJP for the first time won 18 seats, which many even in Delhi did not think that the BJP could get such a significant number of seats from the state. But, over the last couple of years, the BJP have been trying to make significant inroads into West Bengal, which, we saw some success of it in the 2021 Vidhan Sabha election, which is the assembly elections of West Bengal, where the BJP currently is the principal opposition. But however, as the Prime Minister also today mentioned about how the ruling Trinamool Congress government in West Bengal has been entangled into scams after scams. We have seen in the latest development of Sandesh Khali that happened in the North 24 Parganas of West Bengal. So of course, BJP will make these important developments in the state as a political tool to counter the ruling Trinamool Congress in the coming days. And of course, the BJP seems to be at an advantage here in West Bengal, given the fact that there have been number of scams, including one of the biggest ration scam that have rocked the people of Bengal, and several ministers of the Mamata government have been in jail for some time now. So corruption is a significant issue, and as we can see from, as the Prime Minister mentioned about corruption, the cheer amongst the crowd that we witnessed at the Krishnanagar college ground where the rally was taking place of Prime Minister is something that also speaks volumes about how the people of Bengal are waiting to see a change, and that perhaps could be the BJP could perhaps take advantage of it and could make political gains out of it.
All right, Debyendu, thank you so much for giving us those details. And moving on, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi also inaugurated and laid the foundation stone of multiple developmental projects worth more than 21,400 crore rupees in Bihar on Saturday. Addressing a public rally in Bihar's Aurangabad, Prime Minister Modi says a few days ago, the pride of Bihar, Karpuri Thakur, was conferred with Bharat Ratna by the Government of India. This is an honor for the entire state of Bihar. Prime Minister Modi was felicitated by Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar on reaching Aurangabad district. Now let's give you updates from the Israel-Hamas conflict. US President Joe Biden on Friday said he hoped there would be a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas by the time of Ramadan, which starts on the 10th of March.
So you think there may never be a ceasefire negotiation?
I'm still hoping for it. You know, it's not over till it's over. There has to be an agreement on the timing, and they're still far apart.
And Egypt's Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry said that Cairo was hopeful that talks initiated by Qatar could agree on a ceasefire in Gaza before the start of Ramadan. Gaza truce talks have been taking place in Paris since last week to halt the fighting in the Israeli and Hamas conflicts and to secure the release of hostages.
We are hopeful that the areas of divergence between the two sides can be bridged and that we can reach at least a temporary cessation of hostilities to lead to a permanent. I believe that it is only with the conviction that this temporary cessation of hostilities will turn into a permanent cessation that we can proceed.
Well, US President Joe Biden met Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni at the White House on Friday. Biden thanked Meloni for Italy's unwavering support for Ukraine and urged the United States Congress to pass a bipartisan bill that will allow more funding for the country. Meloni called the humanitarian crisis in the Middle East her #1 priority and said the United States and Italy should work together on concrete steps towards a two-state perspective, which is the only long-term sustainable solution. This year, Italy holds the presidency of the G7, which also groups the United States, Japan, Germany, Britain, France, and will host a summit in June.
The crisis in the Middle East is of the utmost concern. We need to coordinate our actions in order to avoid an escalation, and in this regard, we do fully support the U.S. mediation efforts. The humanitarian crisis is our number one priority. Italy is concentrating its contribution on this. Meanwhile, we are cooperating with all regional actors that must be part of any future outcome. We should work together on concrete steps to guarantee the two-state perspective, which is the only long-term sustainable solution.
Meanwhile, US President Biden announced plans to carry out a first military airdrop of food and supplies into Gaza. Biden said the airdrop would take place in the coming days, but offered no further specifics.
And we need to do more, and the United States will do more. In the coming days, we're going to join with our friends in Jordan and others in providing airdrops of additional food and supplies into Ukraine, and seek to continue to open up other avenues into Ukraine, including the possibility of a marine corridor to deliver large amounts of humanitarian assistance. In addition to expanding deliveries by land, as I said, we're going to insist that Israel facilitate more trucks and more routes to get more and more people the
Meanwhile, humanitarian aid dropped from sky over Gaza City for the second time in a week. Several planes airdropped humanitarian aid in the northern Gaza Strip. The flow of aid entering Gaza from Egypt has declined dramatically in the past few weeks, but Israel has said it is not blocking aid and blames the United Nations and the Palestinian side for any delays. Earlier, Jordan, which the United Nations and Western donors have turned into a regional hub for humanitarian supplies to Gaza, for the first time carried out 4 flights along with the French army to drop foods to thousands of displaced people sheltering on the beach. As Israel combats Hezbollah from the Lebanon front, at least 3 Hezbollah fighters were neutralized by Israeli troops in South Lebanon on Saturday. Earlier, Israeli Defense Minister indicated that Israel has planned to increase attacks on Hezbollah in the event of a Gaza ceasefire, but was open to a diplomatic deal to withdraw Hezbollah fighters from the border. And the United States military said that it conducted a self-defense strike against Iranian-backed Houthi surface-to-air missile in Yemen on Friday. According to the U.S. Central Command, the missile was prepared to be launched from Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen towards the Red Sea and presented an imminent threat 2 U.S. aircraft in the Red Sea. The strikes come amid heightened tensions in the region, where Houthi fighters have carried out attacks on commercial and military shipping since November. The Houthis initially said that they would target Israel-linked ships, but later expanded their targets to include vessels linked to the United Kingdom and the U.S. An Hungarian parliament has finally approved Sweden's long-delayed bid to join North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO. Speaker Sandor Lesak signed off on the ratification and forwarded the legislation to the President's office for promulgation. With this move, Sweden is set to become NATO's 32nd member, completing a process that began with Russia-Ukraine conflict in 2022 and saw Finland join last year. The addition of the two Nordic countries will bolster the alliance's capabilities. Earlier, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban's government has faced pressure from NATO allies to fall in line and seal Sweden's accession to the alliance. Hungary's president now has up to 5 days to promulgate the legislation. And now updates from the Russia-Ukraine conflict, as 2 buildings were damaged and turned into debris following an unspecified drone attack in Russia's St. Petersburg on Saturday. The local residents were evacuated from the buildings following a loud explosion that blew out windows. According to the officials, no casualties were reported. The investigation into the explosion is underway. Russian media outlets reported that the incident could have been caused by a downed Ukrainian drone, which was heading towards a nearby fuel depot. Meanwhile, a Russian drone crashed into an apartment block in Ukraine's Odessa on Saturday. According to officials, 3 people were dead and 8 were wounded in the incident. A total of 18 apartments were destroyed and turned into debris. Odessa's regional governor has said that search and rescue operation is underway to find many more who are stuck beneath the rubble. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Farmers' agitation continues in France. Protest at Paris's iconic Arc de Triomphe. By them, many arrested. Voting for Iran's 12th Parliament and 6th Assembly of Experts concluded around midday today. And in Pakistan, row it up over Imran Khan's letter to IMF. We will tell you more ahead.
India that invents. India that innovates. India that excites. India that invites. Land of possibilities. Teeming with opportunities. Watch India Ideas each Thursday, 8 p.m. only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lepakshi Khurana, and moving on, over the weekend, Republicans in several states will get the chance to choose who they want to be their party's presidential nominee. Donald Trump is the clear frontrunner, having won each primary and caucus contest so far. This weekend's voting will be a last chance for challenger Nikki Haley to build momentum heading into Super Tuesday. U.S. correspondent William Dansilo reports for more.
Friday through Sunday, registered Republicans in the District of Columbia, where the White House is located, will have their say on who they want to reside there for the next 4 years. The Republican Party is also holding caucuses in the US states of Michigan, Missouri and Idaho over the weekend. Michigan has already held its presidential primary, which saw Donald Trump handily beat Nikki Haley by over 40 percentage points. 16 delegates were up for grabs in that contest, and Saturday's caucus will determine how the state's remaining 39 delegates will be allocated. For several months, the candidates will crisscross the nation ahead of the Republican National Convention in July, where nearly 2,500 delegates will gather to confirm the party's presidential nominee. That person will then likely square off against Joe Biden in the presidential election on November 5th. Despite finishing behind Donald Trump in all state contests so far, former United Nations Ambassador Nikki Haley has vowed to stay in the race, at least until Super Tuesday. On March 5th, 16 states will have their say on who they want to see on the ballot come November. In New York, William Denslow, reporting for DD India.
Well, fire crews in the Texas Panhandle battles to get tighter grip on the state's largest wildfire on record. Grappling with the intense flow of gusty winds that have fanned an inferno devastating the cattle ranching region, the deadly wildfire has scorched more than 1 million acres. Since Monday, the blaze has spread eastward, pushing across the state's border with Oklahoma. Texas governor have warned of enormous potential fire dangers in the affected area over the weekend.
We face enormous potential fire dangers as we head into this weekend. No one can let down their guard. Everyone must remain very vigilant. Winds are going to pick back up. The right elements for a fire will be around.
And moving on, Mexico gears up for its presidential election. The 2024 presidential elections will test the nation's democratic system. Mexico's ruling and opposition party presidential candidates kicked off their campaign on Friday for elections with a rally in Mexico's Zocalo Square. Millions of Mexican citizens to cast their ballots on June 2nd to elect the new president. Well, French farmers have staged a protest at Paris's iconic Arc de Triomphe as the pressure from the country's agriculture sector shows no sign of letting up. More than 60 people were arrested and the Champs-Élysées were briefly blocked on Friday. DD India's correspondent Ross Cullen reports for more.
Well, farmers are accustomed to getting up early, and on Friday they staged a pre-dawn protest here in Paris, a reminder of their determination to achieve their demands. They have been railing for weeks over high production costs, price pressures from retailers, and also they say they are being undercut by cheap imports from Ukraine. This is the Champs-Élysées, one of the most famous avenues in the world, in the centre of the French capital, and it was briefly blocked on the morning of the 1st of March when farmers dumped straw bales here on the road. The protest was held just ahead of the final weekend of the Paris Agriculture Show, one of the biggest farming fairs in the world. Earlier in the week, President Macron was heckled and booed when he attended the fair, which was held amid the continuing demonstrations from farmers over red tape and also fuel taxes. Now, the French Prime Minister, Gabriel Attal, says there will be more financial support for the farming sector, a new pricing law and also some changes to pesticide rules, an attempt to appease the agriculture sector, but it does seem for now that farmers are determined to continue with their protests. Ross Cullen in Paris, reporting for DD India.
And some more news from Europe. Public transport strikes brought parts of Germany to a standstill on Friday, and some spillover impact is also expected over the weekend. Transport worker unions are demanding a reduction in working hours and a bump in their holiday entitlement. Our correspondent Ishan Garg has more.
Public transport in some parts of Germany is still expected to be impacted. The big day of disruptions was Friday, though, when most of the country's trains, buses and trams stood still. Most big cities, including the capital Berlin, faced massive disruptions. Friday's strike also coincided with a large pro-climate protest which called for greener public transport. One of Germany's biggest transport unions, Verdi, had called for a strike demanding better working conditions for its members. It organized protests in 14 of Germany's 16 provinces, a move that some transport operators have called unnecessary and extreme. Facing rising costs and shortages, Verdi says workers are being stretched beyond capacity and should be compensated for extra working hours and get more holidays. The organization represents some 90,000 transport workers and close to 2 million workers in total. The largest European economy, which is Germany, has been hit by waves of strikes in the past year, which has affected rail and air travel too. And more disruptions are likely, with train unions now also threatening to strike as their negotiations with the state-owned rail operator over working conditions have hit a roadblock. Reports say more young people getting involved in unions has increased their bargaining power. Analysts believe it's one of the biggest factors behind repeated strikes in Germany. Some residents are sympathetic to the cause of workers, but others say the inconvenience caused by strikes is simply too much. Ashan Garg in Brussels reporting for DD India.
Well, as Japan assumed the UN Security Council presidency for the month of March, a Japanese UN envoy Yamazaki Kazuyuki asserted that their ultimate goal is to lead to a world without nuclear weapons. He was speaking at a press conference in New York on Friday. Yamazaki announced two featured events in March. The first, titled Maintenance of International Peace and Security, Nuclear Disarmament and Non-Proliferation, is scheduled for 18th of March. The second event, an open debate on promoting conflict prevention, empowering all actors, including women and youth, will be held on the 13th of March.
As the only country which suffered the nuclear attack in the history, Japan is very keen to this issue, and our thought on this month's meeting is very comprehensive. So we would like to, our ultimate goal. Our goal is that we will, lead to the world without nuclear weapons.
And moving on, a voting for Iran's 12th Parliament and 6th Assembly of Experts concluded around midday after 16 consecutive hours. Initially scheduled to end Friday evening, the voting was extended 3 times, each extension lasting 2 hours. With over 59,000 polling stations nationwide, more than 15,000 candidates competed for 290 parliamentary seats, while 144 candidates vied for positions in the 8-year-term Assembly of Experts. And news from Pakistan. In Pakistan, senators from two sides of the political aisle sparred over Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf founder Imran Khan's letter to the International Monetary Fund linking the release of the next tranche of the bailout package with the audit of the February 8th elections. According to media reports, Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz Senator Sadia Abbasi, while raising the issue in the upper house of parliament, regretted inviting the global lender to intervene in the internal affairs of Pakistan. Abbasi further said the opposition was a watchdog on government and a government in waiting, but domestic issues should be resolved domestically, highlighting the need for all to join hands to protect the country's interest. Meanwhile, coming down hard on the ruling alliance, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf has warned that they would not let the National Assembly function until provisions of their due rights were met. And Joms-Pokhara flight service in Nepal resumes after 3 months, easing travel for pilgrims and tourists. Operations were halted due to harsh winter weather, with temperatures dropping to -14 degrees Celsius. The resumption of flights reduces travel time for pilgrims heading to Muktinath Temple and trekkers exploring the Greater Himalayas. The influx of tourists to Mustang is expected to rise following the reopening, with over 91,000 foreign visitors recorded in 2023. Additionally, with temperatures rising, traffic along the Benny Johnson Road stretch has increased in the recent days. And Japan's moon lander has been put back to sleep after it surprisingly survived the freezing 2-week lunar night, with another operation attempt scheduled for later this month. The unmanned smart lander for investigating moon, or SLIM, touched down in January at a wonky angle that left its solar panels facing the wrong way. As the sun's angle shifted, it came back to life for 2 days and carried out scientific observations of a crater with a high-spec camera. This week, the SLIM probe, which was not designed for the harsh lunar nights when the temperature plunges to -133 degrees, produced another surprise by waking up after 2 weeks. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Japan's lower house of parliament passed the government's budget for the coming fiscal year. The $746 billion budget, which also includes relief funds for the New Year's Day earthquake on the Noto Peninsula, will be enacted by the April 1st of the fiscal year. Fashion icon and entrepreneur Iris Apfel passed away at her home in Palm Beach, Florida on Friday. She was 102 years old. Apfel founded the luxury textiles company Old World Weavers in 1950 with her husband. Her work also included a contract with the White House that spanned 9 presidencies. She was an influential figure in interior design and fashion. At least 19 people have been injured after a car rammed into the crowd in northwest Poland on Friday. The injured included 3 children. 2 people were reported to be in critical condition. The accused fled but were arrested soon after. The ethnic Bana and Cham Haroi communities in Vietnam are celebrating the New Year festival with showcasing their traditional musical instruments, which they have maintained for centuries. These instruments have become significant cultural assets, symbolizing the physical and mental resilience of these communities. They also use drums and gongs to express their desires for prosperity, joy, and good fortune in their everyday lives. And still to come on DD India News Hour. In accordance with the vision of dispute-free Northeast, Indian government signs a tripartite agreement with northeastern state of Tripura. We'll give you details about the 5th edition of the Indo-Japan Joint Military Exercise Dharma Guardian in Rajasthan. And amid GDP growth, Morgan Stanley praises India for leading the new era for Asian equities.
Narendra Modi is such a leader on whom many books have been written in the past few years, but there is always that one X factor which every other author finds different.
So as corruption is concerned, Mr. Modi has actually assured a revolution. India is saving at least 3 to 4 lakh crores per year.
This is the India's movement. This is the civilizational movement for India, where civilizational awakening is taking place.
We are taking a close look at the US presidential election 2024. This year, there are approximately 64 elections scheduled around the world, but probably the most consequential of them all is going to be in the United States.
Hedging against, at the official level, America not being the friendly, open partner that it's always been is extremely important, but it is a very complex world that we live in. One has to both hedge and also invest at the same time. It's extremely complex, but unfortunately there is no alternative.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. Lipakshi Khurana, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi dedicates to nation lays foundation stone for multiple developmental projects in West Bengal and also inaugurates and lays foundation stone on multiple projects in Indian state of Bihar. US to airdrop food and supplies into Gaza. President Biden hopeful of Israel-Hamas ceasefire deal by Ramadan. Hungary's parliament speaker signs off on Sweden's NATO accession, forwards the legislation to President's office for promulgation. Moving on, India's President Draupadi Murmu addressed the followers of Mahima cult in Sambalpur, winding up her 4-day Odisha visit. Early on Saturday, President Murmu paid homage to Bhima Bhoi, who was a 19th century saint and a staunch follower of Mahima Swami, the founder of the Mahima cult in India's Odisha. Mahima Dharma is a Hindu sect that originated in Odisha in the 19th century. The sect's founder, Mahima Swami, established the Dharma ground in 1826 in Puri. And the Indian government has signed a tripartite agreement with northeastern state of Tripura and Tripura's opposition party Indigenous Progressive Regional Alliance, popularly known as Tripura Mota, and other stakeholders in New Delhi today. India's Home Minister Amit Shah, Tripura Chief Minister Manik Saha, Tripura Mota Supremo Pradyot Debbarma, and other senior leaders attended the meeting. Speaking on the occasion, India's Home Minister said, under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, several efforts have been made to realize the vision of an insurgency-free, violence-free and dispute-free Northeast.
प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में गृह मंत्रालय ने उग्रवाद मुक्त, हिंसा मुक्त और विवाद मुक्त नॉर्थ ईस्ट की कल्पना को साकार करने का प्रयास किया है। हमने ढेर सारे संगठनों से बात की, सरेंडर्स भी बहुत हुए। करीब करीब 10,000 लोग हथियार छोड़कर मेन स्ट्रीम में आए हैं और इसी के कारण आज नॉर्थ ईस्ट में विकास का एक माहौल बना है।
And moving on, Chief Minister of Assam today distributed ex gratia to former ULFA members and their families in capital Guwahati. The fund distribution successfully marks a step towards peace efforts in the region. The Chief Minister provided financial aid of up to 7 lakh rupees to over 900 former members and their families for their rehabilitation. ULFA signed a tripartite peace treaty with the centre and the state government last year. Following the treaty, the state government, as per norms, decided to provide skill development training to the former cadres of the outfit. And the 5th edition of the Indo-Japan Joint Military Exercise, Dharma Guardian, has entered its 8th day in the western state of Rajasthan. The joint contingents of Indian Army and Japan Ground Self-Defense Force underwent intense training in room intervention, close-quarter battle firing, obstacle clearance and unarmed combat. Yoga was also included in the training to attain balance between body and mind was well received. And Indian Coast Guard ships Amarth and Abhinav have reached Colombo port today as part of the professional exchange program with the neighbouring Sri Lanka Coast Guard. The ships departed from Galway harbour yesterday and will remain in Colombo till Monday. Earlier, the ships completed several multifarious engagements with Sri Lankan Coast Guard that included joint training in boarding ops, pollution response, firefighting and damage control. An Indian Minister Piyush Goyal hailed India's successful navigation of critical issues at the 13th WTO Ministerial Conference in Abu Dhabi, ensuring the protection of farmers and fishermen. Goyal emphasized that India achieved its expected outcomes, safeguarding these sectors from harm.
I think it's a good outcome. We are completely satisfied. We are delighted that we could welcome 2 new members after many years. A lot of issues continue to make progress in terms of discussions. India continues to retain full policy space for the benefit of our farmers, our fishermen, and in every respect, we have been able to protect India's interests.
And updates from Business World now. Morgan Stanley's Asian chief Jonathan Garner has praised India for leading Asian and emerging market equities in a new era. India, followed by Japan, are in a strong secular bull market on the back of strong earnings growth and nominal GDP growth. Comparing growth earnings between China and India, Garner said that in the most recent quarter, India's earnings grew by 23%, whereas China was unable to grow earnings in the current deflationary environment. And India's digital public infrastructure has the potential to boost the country's GDP by 3 till 2030. A new study by the National Association of Software and Service Companies has found out digital public infrastructure are a set of common platforms or networks that is used to deliver citizen-centric services. The report, titled India's Digital Public Infrastructure, Accelerating India's Digital Inclusion, says that economic value added by these DPIs could potentially increase to around 4.2% of GDP by 2030, up from 0.9% in 2022. India has successful examples of DPIs such as Aadhaar, the United Payments Interface, and FASTag. Well, also, India's milk production will increase to 30% of the total production in the world by 2030. India is the highest milk producer and ranks on first position in the world, contributing 24.64% of global milk production in the year 2021-22. The milk production of India has registered 58% increase during the last 9 years, that is during the year 2014 to 15 and 2022 to 23, and increased to 230.58 million tons in the year 2022 to 23. The chairman and managing director of India's National Dairy Development Board says that in the coming years, India will be producing 1/3 of the milk in the world.
We are actually producing 24% of the world's milk production. Now, our plan is to increase this 24% share in the world to 30% by 2030. So, from 1/4, we will be producing 1/3 of milk produced in the world in our country.
Well, India's equity benchmark indices Sensex and Nifty ended at new closing high levels in the special trading session on Saturday, extending their previous day's sharp rally amid impressive GDP data and foreign fund inflows. Leading stock exchanges, BSE and NSE, conducted a special trading session in the equity and equity derivative segments on Saturday to check their preparedness to handle major disruption or failure at the primary side. The special live trading session had an intra-day switch over from primary side to disaster recovery side. During the trade, the benchmark reached its record peak of 73,994.70, up to 49.35 points or 0.33%. The Nifty went up by 39.65 points or 0.18% to settle at a new closing high of 22,378.40. During the day, it hit the lifetime peak of 22,419.55, up 80.8 points or 0.36%. The market capitalization of BSE listed companies reached its all-time peak of 394.06 lakh crore rupees. And for more on this, we have Shishir Sheller with us live from Mumbai. Well, Shishir, what was the purpose of conducting this special live trading session today?
Well, absolutely. Like you said, it's quite important day for the Indian stock market, both the domestic stock exchange and the Bombay stock exchange. To be conducted a two special live trading sessions. Well, earlier in the month of February, both the stock markets have announced that they'll be conducting this kind of session in the March, and that's what we're seeing there, because Saturday is usually a holiday for the stock market. But what we have seen today is absolutely a necessary step, as far as the trading is concerned. That's the reason. Now, these two sessions, the reason has been given is that during emergency situations, when anything happens, the business should continue, and that's the reason these two important live sessions were conducted. The first session was conducted in the morning between 9:30 to 10, and the second session started at 11:30 till 12:30. So, in this particular two sessions, both the stock market is actually operating from the actual site, and then we have seen a switch over to the business, after the business continuity plan, switch over to the disaster recovery site. Now, both the sessions were conducted in accordance with the Security and Exchange Board of India's guidelines format under which the business continuity plan should carry forward. And that's the reason both the stock markets were actually working on the disaster recovery side here. Well, the first phase is, of course, a continuity in the business during emergency situations. That's what the market has stated here. The smooth functioning, even in the future, if anything happens unto a situation, the market will continue as per these new practice that both the markets have carried out. And that's the reason these two particular sessions were conducted today. But in spite of that, we have seen quite a good market position. Both the markets were actually working in a quite green zone, except banking sector. The other sector like real estate sector, pharma, and the metal sector have performed quite well in today's market session.
Okay, Shishir. Also, the benchmark reached its record high peak, as we all know. Do you see the special session having an impact on market trends or especially investors' confidence?
Well, absolutely. It shows investor confidence here. The trading continues as it is, like in normal session you've seen here. Even in today also we've seen the same kind of pattern, the intraday trading also took place here. So obviously the pattern was quite same here. But what we see today is, of course, the retail investors, the domestic investors have given quite a boost, and that's the reason this particular sector, the pharma sector, is doing quite well. Even the real estate sectors have also performed quite well. Well, of course, the benchmark index, the BSE is concerned, is actually up almost 40%, 40 points here, whereas the BSE, the National Stock Exchange, is almost 0.2% up in today's market session. Shows the confidence, and it's not that. We are seeing a 53-week rally in some of the stocks here, and that's the reason it seems that quite a positive note the market has ended today. We may see this kind of rally probably when the market open, even on Monday.
All right, you were talking about the positive note. What was the overall sentiment among the traders and investors during this special session?
Well, as I told you, that the session was as it is the continuation that we're seeing during the normal days, in the weekdays here. So the same pattern is followed by both the stock markets. Well, as far as the sentiment is concerned, it's looking quite positive, especially on the notes on these particular indices here. Banking sector, we have seen quite a tough time in the last couple of weeks here, and that's reason some of the banking stocks were actually working under pressure. But as far as the other sectors are concerned, especially the real estate sector, because we have seen quite a good boom in the real estate sector, and that's the reason the investors are quite bullied upon this sector. The second is important in the pharma sector, the same sector that we've seen some of the companies doing quite well. So these two sectors that the investors are quite positive, and that's the reason we have seen heavy buying in these two sectors.
All right, Shikesh, thank you so much for giving us that update from there. And moving on, U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen underscored the United States' keen interest in deepening ties with Chile. Yellen lauded Chile's government for its leadership in the energy transition, including through rapid work to decarbonize the electricity sector, leading green bond issuance and supporting progress in the domestic lithium industry. The visit is part of a broader push by the Biden administration to reduce its reliance on critical minerals from China and to build more diversified and resilient supply chains.
Furthering both our climate agendas and our energy security also depends on building green and resilient supply chains involving both the U.S. and Chile. As a leading producer of both copper and lithium, Chile has a critical role to play in the supply chains that will power our world's transition to clean energy. And American companies are investing.
Bank Chairman Thomas Jordan will step down in September, which is 3 years early after more than a decade at the helm. During this period, the central bank wrestled with crises including Credit Suisse's collapse and a supercharged franc. Despite winning the battle against resurgent inflation, Jordan was criticized for the SNB's slow response to the unfolding crisis at Credit Suisse, which culminated in the collapse of Switzerland's second biggest bank last year. Potential successors could include Jordan's deputy Martin Schlegel, the SNB's current vice chairman, or Andrea Mischler, the SNB's first female governing board member who left the bank last year to join the Bank for International Settlements. Jordan said the Credit Suisse episode had not influenced his decision to go.
The Swiss National Bank delivered as a lender of last resort really to avoid a financial crisis. We had the biggest lender of last resort operation ever globally. So the Swiss National Bank was ready there all the time. So that would not have been a good moment. But today we have again re-established financial stability. We have re-established price stability. So I think it's a good time for leaving office.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. India's Union Cooperation Minister Amit Shah launched the National Urban Cooperative Finance and Development Corporation Limited today. It forms the umbrella organization for the urban cooperative banks in the capital in New Delhi. The initiative aims to modernize and strengthen the urban cooperative banking sector, which will benefit both the banks and their customers. Speaking on the occasion, he expressed banks to focus on modernization and expansion to ensure resilience in a competitive market. An investigation into a cafe blast in India's southern state of Bengaluru started on Friday. The blast was caused by an improvised explosive device and left 10 people were injured. The state police has registered a case under the Stringent Unlawful Activities Act and Explosive Substances Act. Security has been tightened in the area so far. India's coal production witnessed a notable growth in coal production and dispatch. Production went by 7% and 29% respectively during current fiscal up to February 2024. This is in line of the Ministry of Coal's commitment to ensure India's energy security and reducing the nation's reliance on imported coal. The renowned Amrit Udyan Gardens at President of India's residence is now open for public viewing till March 31st, 2024 under the Udyan Utsav 1 2024. People can visit the garden 6 days a week except on Mondays between 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Pankaj Advani takes on Lakshman Rawat in the semi-finals of the CCI Snooker Classic Tournament. And the Brit Awards, the biggest night in the British music calendar, are being held on Saturday night in London's O2 Arena. Stay with us to know more.
Narendra Modi is such a leader on whom many books have been written in the past few years, but there is always that one X factor which every other author finds different.
So far as corruption is concerned, Mr. Modi has actually assured a revolution. India is saving at least 3 to 4 lakh crores per year.
This is the India's movement. This is the civilizational movement for India, where civilizational awakening is taking place.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lepakshi Kuran, and moving on, embarking on a journey through the aromatic splendor of the NDMC Rose Festival. Today marked the grand inauguration of this 6-day extravaganza in the heart of India's capital, where the enchanting India-Africa Friendship Garden greeted visitors with its graceful petals accompanied by the lively beats of local bands. DD India's Siddharth Bharadwaj reports for more.
This is India-Africa Friendship Rose Garden in the national capital, New Delhi, where the nature's finest are in full bloom. A spectacle of floral wonder. The NDMC Rose Festival, a 6-day event, kicked off today. Over the next 6 days, this picturesque garden will transform into a paradise of colors, fragrances, and cultural celebrations.
In these 2 rose gardens, we have more than 75 varieties of roses. And our appeal would be to citizens and residents of Delhi and around areas, like they came in large number for the Tulip Festival, they come for this Rose Festival, see the splendor of color which is there, lovely weather which is there, and enjoy and have an outing over the weekend and even on a weekday.
I'm happy to be here at the Rose Festival. We just closed the Tulip Festival, where we as the Netherlands partnershiped with NDMC. And I'm very happy to see that we can continue expressing with roses the friendship between our people, between people in general, and the joy that flowers bring to people here in Delhi. It's a pleasure being here.
Families, nature enthusiasts, and culture aficionados alike have gathered to immerse themselves in this botanical extravaganza. But the festival isn't just about admiring flowers. It's also a platform to promote environmental awareness and community engagement.
You can see the roses blooming, a variety of them, a sort of roids of color. And we just had the Tulip Festival and thereafter now Rose Festival. It's a very beautiful concept and we are loving it.
It's the first day here and the atmosphere is alive with sounds of music and laughter. With its vibrant blooms and festive spirit, the NDMC Rose Festival promises to be a celebration of nature, culture and community.
Amidst the kaleidoscope of colors, a 6-day Rose Festival kicked off in India's capital, New Delhi. Nestled within the serene India-Africa Friendship Rose Garden, each petal whispers the beauty and friendship, also inviting visitors on a sensory journey through botanical wonderland. With camera person Mohit, this is Siddharth Bharadwaj reporting for DD India in New Delhi.
And on to sports updates now. Multiple world champion Pankaj Advani takes on Lakshman Rawat in the semi-finals of the CCI Snooker Classic tournament on Saturday. Defending champion Advani clinched a hard-fought 6-4 win over Nitesh Madan in the best-of-11 frame quarter-final match. Advani secured a 61-51, 78-8, 75-2, 57-68, 461, 15-71, 89-9, 108-9, 54-65, 102-0 win against Madan in a thrilling quarter-final match, while Rawat overcame a spirited Pushpinder Singh in a stirring quarter-finals. And Pune franchise Puneri Paltons on Friday won the Indian Pro Kabaddi League Season 10 title in southern city of Hyderabad, beating Haryana Steelers 28-25 in the finals. Pankaj Mohite was the biggest star for the Pune side as he collected 9 rate points. On the other hand, Haryana was just not able to get ahead of the Pune side at any point in the game. Puneri Palton had a tremendous outing in the league, being at the top of the leaderboard through the entire season. Overall, Paltons became the 7th team in the history of the league to be crowned champions. They also joined U Mumba and the Bang Delhi as 2 teams who went on to win the very next season of the PKL after being defeated in the final of the previous season. Palton had lost to Jaipur Pinka Panthers in the 2022-23 final. And Saudi Arabia has launched its campaign to host the 2034 Soccer World Cup. With Morocco, Portugal and Spain set to share the hosting of the 2030 tournament, global governing body FIFA limited the 2034 contest to bidders from the Asian and Oceania confederations. The next step in the process is the submission of the full bid documents to FIFA in July 2024. The next World Cup will take place in the United States, Mexico and Canada in 2026. And the Brit Awards, the biggest night in the British music calendar, being held on Saturday night at London's O2 Arena. The red carpet event will see performances from Dua Lipa, Cheze and Status and Kylie Minogue. But it's newcomer Ray who's dominating headlines, having been nominated for a record 7 awards. Stuart Smith reports for more.
It's already been announced on Wednesday that Ray has won the Songwriter of the Year award. After leaving her record label in 2021 and taking the leap as an independent artist, Ray has had a hugely successful chart-topping 2023. Now she becomes the first artist ever to be nominated for 7 separate awards at the Brits in 1 year, something she's described as a miracle. Ray said that she was honoured and blown away by the news that she has won the Songwriter of the Year award. Her song lyrics have attracted critical praise, dealing with difficult and personal subject matters, including body dysmorphia, sexual assault, insecurity and addiction, something that she says, despite being hard at times, is very medicinal and very raw and therapeutic. Alongside her, other performers include multi-Brit award winner Dua Lipa, herself nominated for 3 awards, Chase and Status, Ellie Goulding and Calvin Harris. Taylor Swift, Miley Cyrus and Olivia Rodrigo are all nominated in the international categories. Kylie Minogue is also expected to perform on the night, having taken part in some of the most memorable Brit performances over the years, and is set to receive the Global Icon Prize at this year's awards. Stuart Smith in London, reporting for DD India.
All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook X, formerly known as Twitter and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.